Okay, good morning everyone. Today's class, you will be students of SY B.Ed, and the topic we will cover is of importance and is something that will take you a long way tomorrow. Okay, now I've sent the link on the group. There are two options to everything, okay? Look at the word, just see what you use more often. Don't think what's right, what's wrong. Just select what you use more often. And okay, all right. Yes, I've got one response, and let's have a look at the responses here as well. Yes, I'm being the old-fashioned way because I, for the love of God, cannot figure out how to cast the screen from my phone. So I'm using Google Meet. Okay, so I've got two responses so far. Okay, anyone else?
It is done.
Here. Okay. Some of you, yes, answers will be down, okay? It all depends on the internet again. I've got 5 responses so far. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 2 more to go. All right. These are words we use every day, very common words. And somehow we didn't know that there were 2 for most of those words in a way. Alright, I think everyone has replied. Okay, so let's look at these questions and we'll, okay, I need to keep that screen on, okay. So if you can see, did you all get only one question?
No.
Alright, okay. Alright. If 10 lessons have taught us one thing is you cannot rely on technology always. So here's the backup. Okay, so you've replied and I will check your answers later. But what you have just done is some words may have confused you. Why have they confused you? Because English has evolved and developed so much that there are 2, 3, 4 versions. Okay, so now what you saw was a British version and an American version. Some of you, okay, I'll just need a response here, may have selected the British one. So as you can see on the screen, these were your words, yes? So how many of you selected football? Of course I start with football, and wow, the whole class is, almost the whole class is with me. So that's the British version of football. Why do the Americans have a different word? Because they have a sport that they call football. I beg to differ. But they have another sport, so as to avoid the confusion, they will refer to that sport as soccer. Next, how many of you selected crossroads? Yes, we use both of these words. Sometimes we say crossroads, sometimes we say intersection. Is there a mistake? No, okay. Now comes a tricky one. Organize. How many for with an S? Nobody? S. Okay. This is a problem word. I will explain why. Most of you, when you're typing or writing something, when you're typing, you must have spelled it the way you were taught in school, S-E. But your computer or your phone refused to believe you. Why did that happen? Because when you were installing your app, you selected American English, not British English. And that is where, by default, in our heads, we started using a lot of Z's or Z as they like to call it. Okay, next. A tin of cocktails. A can of Coke, right? So when we think of tin and can, tin is usually to do with the food items. And we think of a can, we think of a beverage. Yes? Not necessarily. Tin and can is what are interchangeable. Tin is what the Britishers would use in British English, and can is what Americans use. Now this is an interesting one. I don't remember saying Q as much as I do now. As I was growing up, it was always line, and then suddenly this new interesting word came up. Okay, so how many of you selected Q? Okay, good enough, which means we use both, yes? And color. This is just like organize. Your phone will tell you you are wrong. But believe in yourself, and tomorrow when your students ask you the same question, be prepared with an answer for this. So color, color. For me, if I see the second word, I read it as collar almost. Collar. Okay, because I feel the U makes a difference. Does the U make a difference? When you say the word, when you enunciate and you say the word, does it make a difference? It definitely does make a difference. Okay, let's go on further now. Traveler. Say the word with me, all of you. Traveler. Yes? What's your tongue doing with the L? It's yes. So, you think that double L is important, not important? It is. Yes? So, Americans, what have they done? One particular man is responsible for this, these new words, these shortening of letters. We shall see who it is. Going on further, I remember saying lift and then elevator and then there's escalator, and it all became one confusing getting up to the third floor. Mess. So is it a lift, is it an elevator? What do you say more often? Lift. We still hear the word lift, but if you watch any of your movies or series, they are the ones who are responsible for these new words encroaching, or these new words entering into your life, I would say. Next. How many of you selected G-R-E-Y? Wow, all of you, very good, which means grey has not found its way into your life as yet. Okay, so grey is what the Americans spell. Now, when it comes to doctor and doctor, we use both. I've seen letters where there is, you know, the American version and the British version. What do you write? American version, right? We tend to use the American version more than the British one, but remember, this is the British one. Coming to the next one, did you select privacy or privacy? Privacy. Surprisingly, that's not British, that's American. Because if you've seen, I wanted to include a lot of video clips, but I do not have that much of time to, you know, because there's a lot of content to cover. Yes, and the last one? Garage, garage. Ironically, we use both. And we keep changing it, don't we? Yes? So that's your British versus American English. I would suggest if you can just make a note of these things, because it's a little confusing to understand in the beginning. Okay, but I will be sending this as well to you. So British versus American English, and this is, as sister always says, technology enabled language lesson. And I will be focusing more on spelling, because academic writing is more important than the kind of words that we use all the time. Okay, so my lesson is divided into three parts. One is pronunciation, one is the words. Second part is spelling, which I will be stressing on, and third part is pronunciation, which I won't be stressing on as much. Okay, so let us start. So as I said, one person is responsible for this mess. Yes, the name of the person is Noah Webster. Very often, which are the dictionaries you've heard of? Cambridge, yes. Oxford? Webster's. So now remember, when we say specifically Webster's, this is an American dictionary. So if you go and search for the word color, you won't find UR there, you will find OR there. Okay, so this is, when he reached America, he is a great writer. He found, he came up with his own, words which are simplified. And we shall see over the time how they are simplified as such, okay. So, yes, the two Uniteds, the United Kingdom, yes, and the United States. And basically, as we know, a lot of people migrated. Now, one more thing before I go on further. English borrows its usage from one particular language. Which is that language? One, English, if you remember your workshop, Diana dealt with this part. English borrows most of its words from one particular language. No. I'll give you another hint. They are neighbors. Sella. No. Paris. French. Remember, if you go back to the history of England, the Norman conquest or the French conquering England, and French became the language of the kings. And if you see, there are lots of examples. For example, my favorite place ever to be with my cup of coffee is a cafe. Is it French? Yes? Okay, so there are lots of words. Won't go into that another class, but let's go on with American and British. So that's Noah Webster, and he's the one who brought about a lot of these changes. And let's read this now. Okay, students, so you see the dates out there. I would like one of you to read the date for me. Tell me the date. Yes. 9/11. It's 9/11, but tell me the day and the month. Is it 9th September? Is it 11th September? Is it November 9th? Is it? Okay. But does that read as 9th September to you? Or September 9th? Won't confuse you any further. The second one. Lancia? Yes, very good. You're right for the second one. That's Indian. We know it. A very sad thing that both countries share, 9/11, okay, 11th September, okay, September 11th. Why does this confusion come about? It's because Britain or British and us follow this format, okay, we follow the format of day, month, year, whereas Americans, they like to do everything the opposite way around. They start with the month, okay. For example, look at the date. Today's, oh, I am sorry, I interchanged it, okay. I wrote the wrong one for the wrong word. 15/3 sounds a little, sorry, I wrote it right, what's wrong? 15/3/21 sounds fine. But when you read 3/15, which month has 15, it's a little confusing at first. I still remember the first time I read a date and I took the longest time to figure out. So keep this in mind. This is where we start with the dates, okay. And let us go through these words now. In school, you used an eraser, but I've heard many teachers, I've heard my own students in the past tell me using the word rubber is wrong. Did I mix it up again? No, okay, yes, sorry. I mixed up the first one and I can't make the change now. Rubber is, there's a mistake there, I'll update it and send it to you. Rubber is the word that you would use in British English, okay? Why? Why are you using this word? What does it do? Does it not rub off the letters? Does it not erase? So remember, both words are correct, and do not, without knowing, tell your students that the word rubber is wrong simply because it has another meaning. Most words we know in English have double meanings. That doesn't imply one is wrong. Okay, now let's go to the next one. I won't be doing all of it. You must have seen a lot of American shows where they say high school and she's got her license. How? How can you get your license, or how can you drive, or how can you while you're in high school? This is because they are not referring to high school which we think of high school, 8th, 9th, 10th. They are talking about what is our higher secondary. Okay, so keep this in mind as well. Now going on. Do we say holiday, do we say vacation, do we say both? We say both, right? Because it is so interchangeable in a way. And if you see, if you actually go to see your calendars, you'll find both words at some point. Whereas holiday is what the Americans refer to. Many a times when I've been watching an American show, they go like something, period. And I could not understand what they meant. It only meant very literally full stop, nothing more to say. Okay, so what we refer to as full stop, you know what's a full stop, yes? Where is it? At the end of a sentence. So literally it means, people would say period. When you hear someone say a sentence and say period, they're actually saying full stop. Of course, is this very commonly heard amongst us? No. Next, jam, peanut butter and P&J sandwiches. Heard of P&J sandwiches? I used to wonder, how could you eat jelly with peanut butter on a sandwich? Because in my head or in your head, what is jelly? When do you serve jelly?
Sweet.
It's a sweet, it's a dessert. Yes, you don't have it with the bread. But they are referring to jam. So if you see, there are many words. Okay, jumper, sweater. I think we would use sweater more often, yes? Waistcoat and a vest. This is when we are referring to a suit as such. Okay. Even with the words anti-clock and counter-clock. How many of you all have used the word counter-clock? Not as much. But wait for a bit and see how often it's going to be used, how common it's going to get. Okay, so let's go on further. Okay, this is this one. Remember your phones out. Check, is it aeroplane mode? Is it airplane mode? Airplane mode. I select British English on my phone, so I will have aeroplane mode on it. Okay. Engage, busy, flat. Flat, apartment. This is somehow people think apartment just means a grander flat. No. Apartment is simply the American version of the same thing you're referring to. Okay. I live in a flat, I live in an apartment. It's the same thing. Biscuit, cookie. When we think of cookie, we think of something that is, that you? Chocolate cookies. What? How did you get them? Who got them for you? I got them for you. How did I get them? Did I get them from the shop?
Bake.
Yes, bake. So when we think of cookies, we think of something that is baked. Not necessarily. Okay, it is the biscuit version of the Americans. Alright, let me move on further. Again, on your phones, do you see torch? Do you see flashlight? Do you remember seeing torch at some point? Yes. I think initially when the phones were there, they used to still use the word torch, but now you will find flashlight.
But I have on my phone torch.
That's because you must have selected British English. Even I've got torch in mine. So my suggestion is, be aware when you're choosing, you're installing an app and you get the suggestion, you get the question of the language, try and choose British. Why? Because it is affecting your language. Especially being language teachers, it's very important. Alright. Again, this is simple, I won't go into detail. Remember the suffix, right? Sister? Suffix. Yes. You do not use the full stop. When you are, right, it will be a little difficult to get this into your usage, but just keep this in mind. Okay? Moving on. Sister? Addressing, yes. Next, this is again something that's of confusion. Americans tend to not use hyphens, whereas British English, they do. This is a topic by itself, so I'm not going into it, but keep this in mind, okay? Now, most important is academic writing. If you know, very often SMS language has creeped into your own usage. My suggestion to you is, even now when you are typing, try to use full words, because tomorrow when you are texting a student, you will, without thinking, you know, use the informal language. That's another thing altogether. So, let us look at each of these, some of these words, okay, especially the confusing ones. Now, color and color, aeroplane, airplane. The way it is said is also different. Next, program, program. You tell me the remaining MME, is it of significance or not? Say the word out loud. Program.
Yeah,
It is. But it's not of that much significance that it should confuse a speaker. Remember one thing, America is filled with a lot of immigrants. A lot of people go to America, a lot of people from different countries who do not speak English as a first language. And when you learn English, remember, English is, you and me, we are lucky, because we have heard this language so much that we are fluent in it. However, people struggle with the language, as you are aware of thorough, though, through, how the words in English are very different, right? Okay, let's not go there. Behavior and humor. Okay, you can see? Okay. Let's go into each of these. Now, today morning on my way here, I was trying to notice all of the shops by the side. How many of them said TIRE, and surprisingly, A majority of them said Tyre, and I had never noticed. Because all my life, all your life, what is the spelling you've been using? I. Surprising that it is not the British version, right? Grey, as we've said, you are with the right spelling. Now, center. Remember, the British will spell most of their words with RE instead of ER. Theatre, meter, liter. And whereas most of the places you see, you will see it as ER. Okay, so remember British. The key to remember the which is the British will do it the more complicated way. When you say center, it sounds like ter, not tra, right? When you say it in your head. So remember, as a native, when it comes to learning English, it becomes very difficult for people who do not know it as a language in themselves. Okay, these are all of the words which, where the variation exists. I will go into some of them. Okay, not all. Let's start. Color is one word I've seen that is changed very, very often when it comes to your own phones, and if you're typing something, spell check. Please make sure when you are doing a spell check, make sure it is British, because it's going to change all your words. Yes? So, neighbor, flavor, say these words and tell me, does the OUR make a difference or not? It is making a difference. Otherwise, maybe it would be collar, maybe it would be neighbor, maybe it would be flavor. I don't know, I'm just exaggerating here. But the U, OUR, and you must have you come across these changes? Yes? And were you confused at some point? Yes, because these are very common words. So OUR is what the Britishers use, OR is what the Americans use. My favorite word. I've seen slides on slides and text on text where it is ZE. Academic writing. Try and use British English. This has nothing to do with the Britishers who colonized the rest of the country. Absolutely nothing. Except for the fact that we use that system. Okay? Now, keep this key in mind. Most words, civilization, industrialization, all of these words that end in ZE on your phones is actually S. Okay? So this is a common thing you would see, but a very, very confusing one. Recognize. Realize. Very often you must have realized that your realize has been changed to a Z. Yes? So here are your words. Criticize, emphasize. I think as teachers we use the word criticize, emphasize, organize a lot in our lesson plans. Go back and have a look at your words, whether you've used S or whether you have used Z. Now this may not be of significance now, but maybe when you're writing an essay, or when you are writing a job application, if somebody is aware of this, for example, I am very much aware of the differences, so I can spot the differences. Now if your interviewer is aware of it, it could lead you in honor. It would be giving you a negative point as such. Okay. Pay attention. Traveler, law, yes. Jewelry, marvelous. There's something your tongue is doing, your mouth is doing, it's rolling, and the double L makes a difference. However, Frederica, can you say the second last word?
Skillful.
Skillful. How do you spell it? Double L. Okay, this has happened because of the other words, the traveler, the marvelous. We feel everything is double L. It's not. And these are those words which you often get wrong. If you can, when you're going through this again, make sure you learn these words because they are the ones you get wrong very often. Okay, fulfill. She fulfilled. We usually spell it with a double L. Okay. Is this clear? Yes?
Avril,
Yes.
even faithful will be double, single, no? Faithful.
Faithful, single L, single L. For example, you want to remember how to do this? Skillful. Is it doing the same lulla thing as traveler is doing? No. So keep this in mind. Okay? I was telling you earlier about the theatre, center, meter words. Yes? So these are the words again. Most of the words that end in RE, especially center. You know, one of the things I like to do when I'm in a bus is look at the boards and see the amount of mistakes they have. It's ironic. Okay, so center, most often you will find it as ER here, which is the American version. It doesn't make it wrong. It doesn't make it wrong. But when it comes to you need to know the difference. Okay. French was a language that we borrowed a lot from. Greece, Greek is another language, and Latin. So all of these words to do with, you know, medicine, cesarean, anesthesia, they are a little complicated, and they'll usually have the AE sounds, right? Okay? But the Americans have taken all of it away. For example, say this word anesthetic. Is that AE necessary? Is it needed or not? Aesthetic. So Raymond's favorite word. Yes, aesthetic. Is it making a difference? And I'm sure you struggled with this word when we had to write it in the book. I did. Okay, so remember, these are a little more complicated, and if they are complicated for us, the Americans have shortened their version and made it aesthetic. So it sounds like the Americans are right in this one, aren't they? Maybe. Okay. Now these, pay careful attention to this. This is your most important word. Words that are both verbs as well as nouns. Ashwit, tell me, what is a verb? What is the meaning of the word verb? Grammar, right? Basic grammar. What is a verb? I'm not dancing. I'm walking. I'm talking. So what am I doing? What is it? Action verb, right? So a verb is an action word. Verushka, tell me, what is a noun? Name. Yes. A verb is an action word. It implies an action. A noun is a name. Place, name, place, animal, thing. Come on, you remember the game, yes? Some words are both verbs and nouns. So this is where we are in. Okay, so remember, when it comes to defense, the CE words turn to SC. Anyone confused at any point, please ask me, and I'm coming towards the end of it. Okay, license. Yes, license is the thing you have, yes, in your wallets, most of you, hopefully. Okay, and license is also a, what is license also?
License to own a property.
Yes. Sister, am I right here? It's also a verb, right? Okay. He is licensed. He's got the ability, or he's got the he's been granted the permission. He's licensed to take a football training. I keep coming back to that, I don't know. So now, when it comes to license, okay, as a noun it is, in British English, as a noun it is CE. As a verb, SC. Okay, whereas Americans use the same thing for both. It's interchangeable. They didn't want any confusion of any sort. Give me another word that is confusing of this sort. It has something to do with football again. We went for football every evening. Yes, practice. Okay, practice is another word which is in CE and SC, which is both a noun and a verb. Okay, a doctor's practice. Yes, yes, I practice I practice the piano every day. I have football practices every day. I practice the drills every day. So when you say practice, repeatedly doing something, it is a verb. Yes. So when it comes to a noun, pay attention to this. Okay. When it comes to a noun, when it is a verb, in British English it is SC. And when it comes to a noun, it is CE. Whereas it was the opposite in the previous, section. Okay, so these are two words you should know, because many a times, even in competitive exams, this has appeared. So make sure you know the difference and which one is which. Going back again, when it comes to British English, CE is a noun and SC is a verb. Whereas when it comes to practice, SE is a verb and CE is a noun. Clear, everyone? I know it's confusing, but go through this again, you'll get it. I won't go into this, you can have a look at it later, okay? These are all the miscellaneous words which do not follow a sort of a structure. For example, pajamas, okay, the way it's said is also a little different. Skeptic, no, I don't know any other word that goes with a C and a KS such. For I think the word, okay, we'll see a little later. Have you been using both? I have, and I never knew the difference. Okay, the past tense of the word burnt, I burnt my tongue. Yes, so you see the when key rule T, whenever you see the letter T, it is the British version of it. I won't go again into this because the most important thing was the most important part was what do you call it, was the spellings. Okay, before I go to the evaluation, which I have already again given you, let's just have a look at some of the pronunciation. You won't be tested on this though.
Tomato, tomato,
It's still on that, I think.
batter, water, train it on your potato, potato, can't,
Can you hear?
yes, can't, and, aunt, leisure, leisure,
Who is American, who is British? It's the same girl. But who is wearing, the one who is wearing white is, she is using the British accent.
measure, measure, clever, clever, parliament, parliament, burn, good. Okay, next word.
These are two more girls. The one on the right is an American.
You're actually saying all the letters, like, you're probably saying it how it's actually supposed to be said by it, yes. Next one, ballet. Ballet. Yeah. Word I would pronounce garage. Garage. Oh, no, it's totally different.
Okay, so I have just shortened this again because of the time constraint, and without any of this, we'll go to the evaluation. It's very, very simple. Okay, let's start. What's the word you would use here? Lancia? Eraser? No, it's rubber. Again, I confuse myself, and that can happen as well. Okay, sorry, I forgot to give you all the key here. All the questions now, you have to use the British English version. Okay, let's skip this one and go to the next one. My car had a flat tire. How would you spell it? Yes, very good. Okay. A or B? Both are skillful. B. Okay, good. I didn't stress much on this. Yes, because the Britishers will use hyphens, whereas the Americans tend not to. Yeah? Ha.
S is a British, but it's a verb.
Is it a verb? Is it a noun?
A, that is A.
B. Verb is SE. Noun is CE. Whereas license, verb is, okay? Okay, let it be, it's okay, it's okay. Remember, this is, I've seen this in many competitive exams. Know this word properly. Yes, so that's it for today. I know it was not as interactive as I would want it to be because there's a lot in British and American. Be aware of the difference, okay, because tomorrow, as much as possible, especially being English teachers, you need to learn to use the right version. That's it. Thank you. It's hot, yeah.